Goodspeed?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please take the roll.
Councilmember Cooper?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Here.
Mayor Zelinski?
Here.
Councilmember Goodspeed? Here. Councilmember Szymanski?
Here.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Here.
City Manager?
Here.
City Attorney?
Here.
DPW Director?
Here.
Public Safety Director?
Here.
City Engineer? Here. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearings, we have none. Citizens' comments on agenda-related items. Do we have any citizens that like to comment on agenda-related items? Please come to the podium, state your name, address, and limit your comments to 5 minutes.
My name is Mike Herbert. I live at 306 Kosciuszko,
Hancock.
previous address, 306 Hancock. In regards to this peace disturbance ordinance, it seems to me just to be hypocritical to say that you can use one legal substance in some public places and not another. I mean, if you can drink a beer at the beach, if you can drink a beer at Lions Park, if you can sit on your boat in the marina and drink a beer, you should be able to use other legal substances there also. To do otherwise, as I say, I believe is just hypocritical. And I don't believe this should be adopted. And I also see a problem arriving with the description of a public place. I know of at least one instance where a judge has said that someone's driveway, because it was accessible to a postman to walk up the driveway and place something in the mailbox, it was public. So I can foresee all sorts of problems with the definition of a public place. And again, I would ask that you don't adopt this ordinance. It's hypocritical.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Seeing none? Moving along. Consent agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are on the consent agenda and considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to approval of the consent agenda, any member of council may have an item from the consent agenda removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Consent agenda items include approval of minutes, cash balance, revenue and expenses, notification regarding next work session, consideration of the 2019 Catamaran Racing Association of Michigan Manistee Regatta. At this time, council can take action to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. New business. Fire Captain Promotion Presentation. Public Safety Director, Tim Cosco.
First, I'd like to thank the City Council for taking time out of a real busy agenda tonight to recognize one of our own. Brent Haskin, Brent, come on up, was hired as a firefighter December 20, 2010. His 8 years of dedicated service include taking on the fire inspector duties for the last 6 years. Brent was also certified as a paramedic in March of 2017. Brent, you wear your heart on your sleeve, are not afraid to voice what is on your mind, and truly care about the citizens of Manistee. I strongly feel that recognition is too often overlooked. Too often we look for the headlines of what is wrong today with society and our government. We need the positive days, the fulfilling days, the days that we will remember for the rest of our life. Today, we recognize a very deserving young man. Today, with the assistance of Sandy, Wyatt, Sawyer, and Gatlin, I wish to officially promote Brent Haskin to captain. I'm going to have Sandy pin the badge on. We at the Manistee Fire Department look forward to what tomorrow brings. Congratulations, Captain Brent Haskin.
So sweet.
That's why kids are supposed to be here.
So sweet.
Thank you. What a refreshing moment. Moving right along, consideration of rescheduling the next regular meeting. A second meeting in March has been scheduled for Monday, March 18th, 2019, to allow council and administrative staff to attend the Michigan Municipal League Capital Conference in Lansing. No council members or city staff have signed up to attend. The city manager recommends changing this meeting back to its normal Tuesday night schedule. At this time, council could take action to reschedule the next regular meeting from Monday, March 18th to Tuesday, March 19th, 2019, at the regular time and place. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Councilmember Goodspeed? Councilmember Pontiac? Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Schmansky?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
yes,
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of ordinance 19-04, chapter 663 fireworks. There are two proposed changes to chapter 663. The Michigan Fireworks Safety Act was amended at the end of 2018 to allow greater periods of time for cities to bar the use of consumer fireworks. The city's current ordinance bars the use of consumer fireworks in the city, except for those periods of time that Michigan law did not permit the city to regulate. The proposed modification to the ordinance bars the use of consumer fireworks except for those days and times that the 2018 amendment to the Michigan Fireworks Safety Act does not permit the city to regulate. The penalty section of the ordinance is also changed to follow the change in state law. This ordinance has been reviewed by by Council Ordinance Committee. As an ordinance, two separate readings are required. If this ordinance is introduced at this time, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. At this time, council could take action to introduce ordinance 19-04, amending chapter 663 fireworks.
make the motion,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
yes,
Councilmember Schmansky?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
yes,
Motion passed.
Consideration of ordinance 19-05, chapter 662, peace disturbance. Two changes were made to chapter 662. First, section 66201B1 provides that being intoxicated in a public place, standing alone, is not a violation, but the individual must also be acting in a way that endangers the safety of someone, endangers property, or is causing a public disturbance. This change was to conform with the requirements of Michigan law. Section 662.01B15 was added to provide the consumption of marijuana in a public place other than areas identified by a private property owner is prohibited. The Michigan Regulatory and Taxation of Marijuana Act allows municipalities to authorize consumption in a public place, and the ordinance is intended to make clear that it is not authorized in Manistee. The act is silent as to what penalties, if any, is imposed for violating the restrictions against consumption in a public place. The ordinance makes it a misdemeanor to consume in a public place. This ordinance has been reviewed by the Council Ordinance Committee. As an ordinance, 2 separate readings are required. If this ordinance is introduced at this time, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. At this time, council could take action to introduce ordinance 19-05, amending chapter 662, peace disturbance. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mayor, if I could just point out that because of the comments earlier, the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act already makes it unlawful to consume marijuana in a public place. We're just making this part of our ordinances and prescribing a penalty for it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If I remember, wasn't there in the law, wasn't there an opportunity for a community or municipality to make exceptions to certain events?
A community can, in its ordinance, we could designate a specific area where consumption of marijuana would be authorized as long as that area was restricted so that individuals 21 years or younger than 21 years could not have access.
Okay. Is it possible that do we need to have that verbiage in our ordinance?
The only one, the verbiage that we have relates to private property owners and not the city. So I think if the city would decide that there was an event that it wanted to authorize the use of marijuana in a public place, we'd have to take some additional action to do that.
Such as?
Either we could amend the ordinance to reflect that, or I suppose we could pass some sort of resolution that would authorize that for some particular event.
Could we change or this ordinance to allow for an event if it were approved by the city council?
Well, if that event is going to be approved by council anyway, maybe that's without even the language. If this would come before council, let's say in a few months, and council decided that there was a particular event on a particular day and location that it wanted to authorize that, then I think the council could adopt a resolution to allow that at that time.
And if I could just interject, and we have done that in the past. A good example is what an event that was on your consent agenda tonight was the catamaran races. We don't allow camping in the parks, but they requested camping in that open area. And council, this is a third consecutive year that council has authorized that. So by formal action, they authorized that exception to the ordinance.
So I just want to clarify. So in the future, if we had somebody who wanted to put on an event in Manistee, and they were able to comply with the requirement for it to be restricted to 21 years and older, then it would be something that the city council could vote and amend the ordinance to allow?
And this, you're talking about in a public place as well? Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I just have a question or a comment. Are we getting in a position where we're violating our own ordinances by approving something?
If this were to come back for council again, I think as the city manager pointed out, we have ordinances right now that for special events, we'll adopt some authorization by council by resolution to allow that act, even though there's an ordinance that says that it may not be permitted.
Any other questions? Please take the roll.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Consideration of ordinance 19-06, chapter 606, animals. The proposed modification to Chapter 606 are to incorporate with respect to dogs and cats state law by incorporating state law. City police officers are able to charge what is described as a state offense as a city ordinance violation. Section 606D was added to prohibit dogs on city beaches except between piers at First Street Beach and from the north end of man-made lake to the north end of the city beach. While the city has posted the prohibition of dogs on the beaches without an ordinance, city police officers were unable to ticket violators. This ordinance has been reviewed by council ordinance committee as an ordinance. 2 separate readings are required. If this ordinance is introduced at this time, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. At this time, council could take action to introduce ordinance 19-06, amending chapter 606 animals.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Consideration of ordinance 19-07, chapter 1482, residential rental properties. The ordinance to amend chapter 1482 is primarily intended to address confusion as to whether short-term rentals and bed and breakfast are exempt from the rental inspection requirement. The ordinance refers to hotels, motels, and overnight rooms intended for transit use as being exempt. Pursuant of the Michigan law, hotels, motels, overnight rooms designed for transit use are subject to inspection by the state of Michigan. Bed and breakfast, Airbnbs, and so on are not subject to inspection by the state. Consequently, are subject to inspection by the city pursuant of the rental inspection program. The amendment clarifies which rentals must comply with the inspection requirement. It also clarifies that certificates of compliance issued after inspection terminates after 3 years, but is assigned to a new owner. The remaining changes were to correct or clarify language in the ordinance. This ordinance has been reviewed by Council Ordinance Committee and an ordinance, as an ordinance, 2 separate readings are required. If this ordinance is introduced at this time, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. At this time, council could take action to introduce ordinance 1907, amending chapter 1482, residential rental properties. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper? Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of ordinance 19-08, chapter 1024, sidewalks and river walk. The proposed change to chapter 1024 prohibits walking dogs along the river walk from the west end, prohibits walking dogs along the riverwalk from the west end of the city marina to the west end of the riverwalk. Bicycles, skateboards, and rollerblading are prohibited along all portions of the riverwalk. Just like chapter 606, by providing these restrictions in the ordinance, city police are able to ticket violators. The proposed change makes clear that the violation of chapter 1024 is a civil infraction. This ordinance has been reviewed by the Council Ordinance Committee. As the ordinance, 2 separate readings are required. If the ordinance is introduced at this time, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. At this time, council could take action to introduce ordinance 19-08, chapter 1024, sidewalk and river walk. Do I
I'll
have
make the motion.
I'll second.
a motion and a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of an ordinance 19-09, chapter 292, employee savings plan, and chapter 294, employee retirement system. The city has two ordinances regarding employee retirement that have been suspended by City Council adopting the Michigan Employee Retirement System in 2005, and recent City Council action to set up a defined contribution plan for new non-union hirees. The ordinance are no longer needed and should be repealed. The ordinance has been reviewed by the Council Ordinance Committee. As the ordinance, two separate readings are required. If this ordinance is introduced at this time, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. At this time, council could take action to introduce ordinance 19-09, repealing Chapter 292, Employee Savings Plan, and Chapter 294, Employee Retirement System. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I know the answer, but I just wanna, city attorney, because my wife falls under the retirement, I'm not a conflict of interest, correct?
No conflict, especially considering what we're doing is repealing ordinances that have no legal effect any
I
longer.
just
So
want on the record.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for asking. Any other discussion? Please take the roll.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of adopting an updated City of Manistee Personnel Policy and Procedures Manual. The City of Manistee maintains personnel policy and procedures. These policy and procedures were documented in Employee Handbook, last updated in 2005. Various general and council policies, city charter, and current practice, there was a need to update the policy and procedures and consolidate them in one personnel policy and procedure manual. At this time, council could take action to adopt and update City of Manistee Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual as prepared by the city labor attorney. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'd just like to say that I thought that it was very comprehensive personnel document, and I think it would be very helpful and useful to new employees.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long process, but I think the end result is excellent.
I probably didn't read it as thoroughly as I should have, but I did take a look at it. I just would have been more curious to know what the changes were. Any major changes that come to mind?
Well, it's probably,
And on a new one, so we didn't know.
there was just a lot of old policies, laws had changed, and so we had to have those updated. There were such things as we referenced, we had sickness and accident disability, and we didn't have a policy to back it up, so just those kind of cleanups.
How long you been working on it? About a year? A little over a year?
I wish. It started just before I got here.
Okay. So it's been a while. I know it's been in the works for a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Please take the roll.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of an automatic aid agreement with Manistee Township. The Manistee Fire Department and the Manistee Township Fire Department desires to implement an agreement to voluntarily aid and assist each other in the event that an emergency situation occurs. Currently, each department will respond on a mutual aid basis upon request. Both departments recognize the need for an automatic response, which will significantly reduce response time. The agreement is specified that to the fire apparatus response. Manistee Township has signed the agreement. The city attorney has reviewed and approved the agreement. At this time, council could take action to authorize the 2019 automatic aid agreement with Manistee Township. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can you give me a little background on this real quick? What it entail?
We currently only have a automatic aid with Filer Township, so that if there is a significant emergency event, a fire, we would get automatically, a filer would be toned with us to handle the event here. We would also go there if they had a fire. We felt the need, because of manpower situations and the need for assistance with manpower, to extend, and I had a lot of discussions with Chief Barron about this with Manistee Township, so we felt it necessary to assist each other, because we're neighboring with the city and the townships, to extend this into their township.
Have we already provided assistance on a case-by-case basis in the past?
Yes.
Without this agreement?
Correct. Under a mutual aid upon request, which then you have that delay in response. The hospital last year, when they had the small fire up top, we weren't on initial response on the tone. We waited, and then we're asked to. We would be initially toned now on those type of events. But it's only for fire events. It doesn't have anything to do with ALS response.
And dispatch, just for informational sake for the audience, they have all the addresses that would require, like, specific apparatus.
If this was approved, it would go to dispatch. I'd work with Director Espivik to make sure that the response is appropriate for those areas. We work together to have an area that would be our response area. We're not going to the entire township on automatic aid,
Right.
just a specific area.
Right. There were some questions I had from people about that. Right.
Do you foresee any increased expense to the fire department with this agreement?
There would be if there's a significant event. I mean, last year, just in the city, we had 2 fires, which both Filer and Manistee came in to assist us. Last year, we went, I think, just the one time out to Manistee Township. We didn't have any opportunity to go to Fire for a significant event, or Filer.
But we have backup, if we had to have somebody at the station, we can either call people in, or the police, officers are trained.
Every event will analyze. The on-duty crew would initially go. If there was a need for what we call an all-hands, to have everybody go to that actual fire scene, then we would. If not, what we would do is we'd call an all-hands to backfill for the station, so that we would have response for our residents for ALS response. So there is a method that we work on in our own house. So
Right.
this is how we want to manage it.
And if you couldn't do it at all, you can say that you can't do it.
Correct.
So we would be covered
Correct.
regardless.
And there's actually built in, but I don't know if it's ever been used in a very long time, that if, let's say we exhaust all our resources, we're in Manistee Township, we're fighting something, we have the opportunity, we can actually call another jurisdiction to come and backfill us to try to assist us if there is a need for response.
Would that just be within Manistee County, or would you go to Mason County for that?
Start with Manistee County, because that's the mutual aid agreement, which you're gonna
Right.
be hearing about next, so that's what that would be a part of.
Any other questions? Comments? Thank you. Please take the roll.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Manistee Fire Department is a member of the Manistee County Fire Association. The association has recognized the need for a countywide mutual aid agreement. The agreement is specific to the fire apparatus response. This agreement is for an urgent event with assistance, where assistance is necessary and requested for by a participating jurisdiction. The city attorney has reviewed and approved the agreement. At this time, council could take action to approve the Manistee County Mutual Aid Agreement. Do I have a motion?
I'll second it.
Motion is second, any discussion?
This is on call by just.
Yes.
This one's just on a request, correct?
Correct. This would be a request for assistance at a scene by any of our jurisdictions on that particular document in Manistee County.
And we'd be able to then evaluate whether or not we were able to fulfill that request, right?
Correct.
Yep, okay.
And we would still have the same response. We've assisted before, I think it's over a year ago, and we only brought a two-man crew to that, and we backfilled the station. So we'd still manage to try to, we want to always make sure that we have somebody here in Manistee to service our citizens if we're outside of Manistee City.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Please take the roll.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
If it's on case by case, yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac,
Yes.
Councilmember Schmansky,
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski. Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Notifications, communications, and announcements. A report from the Manistee Recreational Association. As a regular part of each council meeting is a report from a cooperating agency organization department. At this time, Mr. Nick Doyle will report on the activities of the Manistee Recreational Association and respond to any questions the council may have regarding their activities. Welcome.
All right, good evening. My name is Nick Doyle, and I am the new director for the Manistee Recreation Association. And in tonight's annual MRA report, I will be giving a review of the year 2018. So the MRA has 21 programs throughout the year that take place in every season of the year. Our programs are offered for all ages, starting with age 1 all the way up to adults, now with the addition of adult flag football. Most programs, however, are geared towards early elementary school-age children. You'll see highlighted there, or underlined, is Little League baseball and softball. This past year was our first year that we coordinated that, and we had 12 teams between both baseball and softball. And then the adult flag football, as I just mentioned, was also new this past year, and we had 4 teams and roughly 40 participants. So participation itself, it was a good year for the MRA. Individual participation for 2018 was 912, totaling 1,532 program registrations. This was an increase from 2017, which had 817 individual participants and 1,491 program registrations. The city specifically had 331 individual participants and 534 program registrations in 2018. This also was an increase from 2017, in which the city had 324 participants. We expect these numbers to rise once again in 2019, as we are already off to a great start for the year. We've also already added 2 new programs, one being first and second grade basketball and competitive cheer program. For the first and second grade basketball, we thought it was very important to start the kids younger. We believe that it's gonna help the kids with their skills going forward all the way up until high school. So 2018, our sponsorship campaign was very successful as well. 2017 was one of the better years we've had in recent memory. And 2018 was actually even better than that. We increased our sponsorship from 32 to 38 in 2018. Of the 38, 5 were platinum level sponsors, which is our highest level of sponsorship that we offer. So the community really is backing what we have provided for its participants. Every year, the annual Charles E. Shadle Award is given to one business and one individual who positively impacts not only the MRA, but also the recreational way of life in Manistee County. And this year, or last year's award winners were Century 21 Boardwalk, who was represented by Suzanne Riley, owner, and Kathy Mahar. The MRA does offer scholarships to anyone who may need assistance for our registration fees. In 2018, we provided 49 scholarships totaling $2,515. The city specifically gave out 33 scholarships totaling 1,565, or rather, 33 participating members from the city needed scholarships. So at this time, if anyone has any questions, that was 2018.
Any questions?
Mick.
Yeah, I think you guys do a great job, and obviously with a small staff, you couldn't do it alone. How many volunteers do you have, and do you have an idea of how many volunteer hours have been contributed to the MRA program?
So most of our volunteers are coaches. With all the sports we do, I would say there's close to probably 50 volunteers through coaching, and games can be anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 hours on the weekends. And then they practice throughout the week, once to twice a week, so you're talking another 2 hours. So many volunteer hours are given to our organization, and as you mentioned, we have one secretary staff and then myself. And we always get new ideas for new programs, and I can see the future of the MRA growing, because right now we are very busy in the office. I'm kind of given the task, well, Bree, our clerk, our secretary, as well as myself, we do tasks that maybe a recreation an assistant would do, but given the fact that we only have two members at the MRA, we have to spread our time, around. So, yeah.
Hey, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
You were still acting when I was.
Yeah. It's happened very fast, but I'm excited for it. So.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're doing such a great job. Could you fill me in a little bit about the scholarships? How do you reach out to people? How do they know about these scholarships? When they come into the office, many of the residents already know about the scholarships. Every year we have them fill out a form. We don't check it. They fill out a form, and depending on the number of people within their household, honestly, we
You let them play.
yeah, we let them play. Yeah, sorry.
That's
That's
great.
something that's new to me. I have to look more into that.
That's fine. I didn't mean to
yeah.
put you on the spot.
No, I'm sorry about that.
I just wonder about how the young people would find out about it. Do you do any outreach? Is there, and maybe that's just a suggestion, maybe.
Yeah, not specifically for the scholarships, and maybe that is something that we should do, because I'm sure it is needed within the community, and maybe our numbers would even grow if we did let them know that was available. But however, they usually just bring that to us. We've never, I guess, advertised the scholarships themselves.
I just wonder how many
Yeah.
young people we might be missing by not making that available. But
Right. No, that is a very good point.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
do have them on your website too. My family uses MRA a lot, so I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to have in this community.
Absolutely.
And the volunteers, I know she's on the basketball team, and they practice 3 times a week, plus
Yep.
have 2 games on the weekend, so those volunteers are very dedicated.
Yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't run without them. That's for sure.
Anything else? Thank you very much for your
All
time.
right.
We
Well, thank you.
appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, where are we? Oh, Maxwell. Okay, we got one more here. Consideration of a Maxwell Wee Parade. The Maxwell Committee has requested to hold their annual Wee Parade on Sunday, March 17th, 2019. The parade is part of the festivities planned for the day. The parade will commence at Stu's Pub, 506 Ramsdale Street, proceed to 7th Street, then south to Kosciuszko, and ending at the Painted Lady Saloon, 723 Kosciuszko Street. This will be a small, quick parade starting at 2 p.m. At this time, council could take action to approve the Maxwell Wee Parade on Sunday, March 17, 2019, subject to appropriate department approval. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
The only thing I'd like to say is I think it's great that Maxwell Town is starting to feel its own oats And they just had a great event with the chili cook-off in Maxwelltown, and I think these kind of events are great for Manistee, and they're great for Maxwelltown to kind of let people know that there's other parts of the city.
Thank you for that. I agree with that. I'm Deanna Marsh. I'm chairing I'm chairing this for the owners of the 6 establishments down in Maxwelltown. The only thing that I'd like to point out here is that they're asking that it would run just the opposite way now, from Painted Lady, ending at Stu's, so that the majority of the people conversing at the end would be between Stu's and 522 and not Painted Lady in front of 2 Slices and Highway. That was their request. Okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Please take the roll.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Smansky?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Concerns and comments. Citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement. Citizens in attendance shall be recognized by the mayor for comments, limited to 5 minutes. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read. Do we have any concerns or comments tonight? Please state your name and address.
Luna Walker, 471 Fifth Street, Manistee. Thank you. I have a number of questions, not really that many, but the people have been asking me about the deer call, and I have no idea, so I brought them to see. And is it appropriate for me to ask questions in my 5 minutes?
Would appreciate that if you have questions, you direct them to the city manager after the meeting.
Oh, okay, I'll be glad to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't you have something to say about your water bill or something?
Oh, well, I'll say that since I have a couple minutes. I moved here in this last year. I've never lived in a town where they had shut-off programs or certain areas that shut down their water and some that didn't, and that they sent out letters, all this kind of thing, and put it in the paper. I didn't even know that kind of thing happened. So when it was really cold this year, a couple of my neighbors said, oh, you better run your water because you don't want the pipe to freeze between your house and the city. I went, oh, okay. So I got my water bill, and it is over 4 times as much as my normal bill, which I have every single month. So when I went into the office to pay it, I asked them what happened, and they said, well, we did not notify you, so you have to pay. And the people there, I mean, they said like 5 times in a row, and I said, excuse me, I just don't know what's going on, so could you please inform me? And they told me about all the system and everything. And I said, well, what about senior citizens? Because that's a really lot more than your budget. You have to pay that many times what you expect. And my suggestion to them was, when new people come to live in town and they have their first water bill, it would be really helpful if they gave some information about the system and, said your house is in a shut-off zone or it isn't, so that you would be prepared and have this knowledge of what goes on. And so I asked them, and they kept saying, they kept saying that thing. We didn't contact you, you have to pay. And I said, well, I can't possibly pay this, and that means I'm not gonna pay it by the 1st. It was like, like $200 and some. And so that means it gets up to another $30 or something on the 1st of the month. And I said, well, I could pay $20, but I'm gonna have to budget it out because it's just like more than I had planned. So, and also, when I made the suggestion to them, they said, well, lots of towns have these kind of plans and everybody knows. And I just told them, well, in my whole life, I've never lived any place where they had this kind of plan, or I even had to run my water, whether it was a different plumbing system or in warmer climate. So I'm making this suggestion to the city that as new people, and they said there was no one I could appeal to, but the people at the senior center said I should appeal to the city council. So, because I think that they work for the city, it seems obvious. So I would just suggest that people give some information when you come here so that this kind of expensive misunderstanding didn't happen, and I would like some way, if possible. And then everyone told me, oh, they'll reduce it for you. If you have to have your water running, they'll reduce your bill. Well, so that was what I was understanding. So I would love it if my bill could be reduced. And there were other people at the senior center where I was sent who said they'd been having similar problems about their water bill in the last year and a half, where it was raised and taken down, raised and taken down, and they didn't get explanation or anything. So I think it's something to be looked into, and particularly most towns have a program for senior citizens. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, would you check into that for me, please? I appreciate it. For council. Anybody else?
Yes, just seeking a clarification here. So the agenda item states the act allows municipalities to authorize consumption in a public place is incorrect. Is that right? This agenda item was written incorrectly?
Did you want me to answer that, Mayor?
If you would like.
No, that's correct. The act allows a municipality to authorize consumption in a public place. The act itself says you cannot consume in public place unless the municipality authorizes it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Saylor. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Seeing none, officials and staff.
Nothing at this time.
Any more, Mr. Saylor?
No, I've said enough, thank you.
No, you've done well, thank you. Public Works.
Just one item for you. I forgot to mention it during our staff meeting this morning, and this item wouldn't come before council, but Friday, the state of Michigan opened up bids for our 12th Street construction project, and I think there were 5 bidders. Our low bid was about $50,000 below the estimate, so we're pretty happy about that. The contractor has not been awarded the contract by the state yet, but has already contacted us today, trying to get things set up and planned. So, and just a reminder that that project is going to start about mid-June after school gets out, with a target of completing it before school starts again in the fall.
Quick question about the marina. Are we on schedule?
The insurance company approved the funding, the low bid, last week. So we sent out a notice of award to the contractor. The next step is for them to submit all their the signed contract and appropriate bonds and insurances, and then we'll issue a notice to proceed. The conversations that the engineers have had with the contractor, I don't think this has hampered the schedule at all, because really their start date is going to be mostly weather driven, but this at least allows them to start ordering materials, get in their schedule for mobilizing the barge and crane. We do anticipate, or we've anticipated that they may request a small extension of time, and we'll work with them on that if that happens.
Thank you. City engineer.
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you. Rising tide, Lizette, do you have anything?
Scrolling down. Second page. All right. Well, I just wanted to take a minute first to thank all of you who had the opportunity to go to the summit this past Monday. I think we had a very good turnout considering the weather and all of the other times that we had to reschedule the event. I wanted to take a moment to present to you most of the things that the community pointed out as the bigger, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for Manistee. I gotta say that it was very impressive to see many of this vocalized and, kind of pointed out there by the community themselves. I guess I'll just point out the 3 top ones of each one of the categories. For the strengths, I wasn't surprised that, Manistee had natural resources. That's basically one of those things that we talked about when Rising Tide came up, and I was given the opportunity to choose this community. The second was the Ramsdale Theater, and then the Vogue Theater. As far as the weaknesses, we have as a number 1, the lack of community collaboration. And as you know, this is one of the things that I'm trying to work, as part of Rising Tide. How do we enhance the collaboration with everyone in here in the community? So I appreciate, any feedback and also your participation in any of these events and things that we got going on. The second one is the vacant storefronts, and the third one, the lack of vision. As far as the lack of vision, this is also one of those other things that, as part of Rising Tide, we're trying to work with as well when it comes to the economic development strategy, and also trying to engage the community to make sure we're tackling the right needs or concerns from the community in itself. The opportunities, the affordable housing. Housing was a subject that was broadly discussed in the summit. It came, as a weakness of the community, and it came as an opportunity as well. I think this is a good clue to kind of also set us in the direction of where do we need to make sure we put attention whenever these things come forward. Small business development, and then new industries. And then as far as the threats, we have negativity. And I can tell you that as I work, with these projects and talk with the community, I've seen how this is such a big deal, affecting many of our initiatives and many of the great things that could be coming up. So I know you already do that, but kind of put the pressure out there of how it's really important that we make sure we talk about the positive things, like the one he was talking about, and the great things we got going on, rather than going off about the negative and all the, things that are not doing so well. And then again, lack of affordable housing came up as a threat. How is this threatening, the younger professionals that could want to move here, any new jobs or industries, basically, and then drugs. Overall, I think this was a very good dynamic, and we have a lot of good information to be able to make sure we tackle these needs when we drop the economic development strategy for everyone in the community. But I just wanted to bring it in front of you all to make sure I present to you, what is the community thinking and where is everyone standing at this point. And also, if you had any questions for me.
I think most of us here went to that event, and it was very well organized, and it was really neat to see. So, congratulations.
Any other
Anybody
questions?
else? You're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Put up. That was a very, very enlightening meeting. Setting on council and then sitting back and being able to hear what the community's expectations were, what they felt was holding us back, was very enlightening for me, and I do appreciate their participation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy, I think a part of our job as part of Rising Tide is also making sure we point out and we bring to everyone's attentions what are those pressing issues and what are the things that really need attention and concentration when it comes to proposals or anything. So I was really happy to get these results. And also just thank everyone in the community that attended. So thank you.
I think one of the big things for me was that I learned from that meeting what the community is willing to support. And to me, that's very important also. So it was very enlightening. I appreciate it.
And then just really quick, it was a nice reminder that Rising Tide is also moving in the right direction. Of course, housing is one of the areas that we're hoping to work with the branding and marketing. As part of that is also trying to help the community think forward and kind of figure out what is the message and what the community of Manistee wants to make sure they're recognized. And I hope negativity is not that one thing. So thank you.
Did you get a count on how many people attended? It seemed to be pretty full.
Yeah, so out of the popcorn, the ticketing, it was 72 people, but I do know that there was many people that didn't drink or had the popcorn, so we made a count of from 70 to 80 people.
Okay.
Which was really good turnout.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Consideration of a closed session. Oh, council members, I keep forgetting that these. Okay, council members, yeah.
So I've got a couple cards here for employees. For birthdays, Scott McCullough, Brian Moore, Tanner Lesson. I think how you say that. No, not all of them. Jeremiah Hayner, Jason Heliad. Wait, these are anniversaries. So Jeremiah is 2 years. Jason is 18. Fred LaPointe, 40 years.
Holy cow. Wow.
Bradford, 17 years.
Wow,
And
good job.
Laura, 2 years. So congratulations.
I just wanted to give a plug again. This is our, oh, sorry.
Are you done?
I'm not done.
Okay.
So I just wanted an update on the deer call. What is the next process where I know it said that it had to be done in April, right? Before
It has to be
April?
done by April 1st.
Yeah, so it's already less than a month, so I just wanted to see what the process is now.
USDA was in town today, setting up stations that they're gonna utilize, in the different areas. And then there's projections about when they'll be back and start taking, doing their job.
And you've already consulted with the neighbors? About any of that?
Sergeant Bruce has been in charge of all of that. I don't know personally if he has. But a lot of the areas that we're in, there isn't much neighbors. So. Thank you.
Chief Goes, while you're there, can you introduce the new fire officer?
Certainly.
Just wondering if you could ask.
David's been here since December 17th. He's a paramedic firefighter, comes to us from St. Davis. So he's currently in training. He'll be in training for a bit, trying to get him through everything as far as our in-house stuff and getting him familiar with everything and getting a lot of reps with Captain Cameron and Daniel Reck. So look forward to having him here for the next 40 years.
Welcome aboard, David.
All right, I gotta do it. I got Girl Scout cookies too, if anybody wants them.
I just wanted to give a plug for the 150th year anniversary of the city of Manistee. They had the kickoff last week with, what was it, Fun with the Founding Fathers. But the next couple events, there's going to be a motion picture. They're going to have the original Superman with Christopher Reeves at the Vogue Theater on 9 April. And then there's going to be a real interesting event starting at the Ramsdale Inn at 5:30. It's called Bricks, Mortar, Cornices, and Corbels. And that will be a kind of a briefing on the architectural history of Manistee, included in a walking tour. So it's limited to 40 people, so if you want to go to that, you need to buy your tickets soon. It's on the 29th of April, Monday, and it starts at 5:30. Tickets are $20, and you get them at the Historical Museum. And there is much, much more going out through the whole year.
Weren't you gonna issue a challenge?
Oh, that's right. This.
I hate to bring it up, but go ahead.
This Saturday is the polar plunge, and I'm going to plunge for the city council, and I challenge any other members of the city council to join me.
Does it count if we just watch you?
That counts, I guess.
I nominate Linda Beat.
Oh, no.
That supports the Special Olympics for our area. I think the polar plunge is actually at about 11 o'clock. I have to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. So.
See, I have to run the health fair, so I'm out.
Yeah.
Mr. Cooper,
Everything's copacetic.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I am not taking that challenge. I'm not even taking it. I'm not even up at that time. So, I think that's about all I have, so.
I have nothing, sir.
I have nothing. Next on the agenda, consideration of a closed session, union contract negotiations. City Manager Tad Taylor has requested a closed session this evening as permitted by the Michigan Open Meetings Act, Section 8C, to discuss contract negotiations with the Police Officers Association of Michigan and the Command Officers Association of Michigan. At this time, council can take action to proceed to a closed session under Section 8C of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Do I have a motion?
Yep.
Second?
Second.
Please take the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. We'll adjourn to the closed session. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We appreciate it.
I'm gonna adjourn to the potty first.
Okay.
Hello,
I will be in the library.
Mrs. Szymanski. How are you?
Excuse me?
Are you gonna take the punch?
Give me a call tomorrow.
Your cookies?
Yeah.
Nice. 398.
Supposed to be cold tomorrow.
I have a hard time getting through the kids without having a heart rate go to 130. So,
Yeah. All right, yep.
Got the loaded.
oh, you have to say? Oh, never mind, never mind.
Absolutely. Everything.
When is your big speech for the Tea Partiers?
Wait, no, good. There you go.
March 1st?
Thank you.
Oh, that's a Thursday. Where's it gonna be? If I can make it, I'll try. But yeah, I don't want you to get hurt, so. What? Okay. Oh, can you take all the, thanks.
It just, it was a long agenda. and I just heard- No, they're fine.
You wanna take this? You don't wanna carry my purse out to the car? Oh, that's right. I don't wanna take my purse out to the car.
Oh. Chief, for, at the HSCD today, they were asking us.
Yeah, well, we'll have, I know they're gonna be some more
Oh, okay.
They did last year.
Yeah, and again, I think they must have thought they had, because they said that, you had not signed it, so. Okay, yeah, yep.
The stuff is some.
Well, but that's another, but that's a citywide thing. That, yeah, okay. Anyways, they just asked me to ask you.
About Tom Brooks. Libraries. You can tell them. Remain. Spotted him tonight. In a call, putting on a seatbelt while he's driving. Now, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to put your seatbelt on. Just thought I'd bring it to you. That's true.
I got the cooler. Hey, I'm going in here.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just turning this folder in.
I'll let them know.
session first.
Oh, Lord.
That's
Hey, enjoy your trip if I don't see you.
oh, you're gonna see me, but that's a bunch of crap with North Flight.
Okay. We have a motion.
I make a motion, go back and done. Yeah, we go back to open session.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
Please take the roll.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Zielinski,
Yes?
Mayor Zielinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Smansky,
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Holy smokes, I'm gonna need a pack mule.
Didn't he say lake?
Thank you.
It's a pool.
Pool?
It's a pool in the parking lot.
A pool in the park?
Timing, because my wife is going up to
Not with water at the Little River Casino.
help out with the granddaughters.
It's still happening, but it's outside.
Enjoy.
The water isn't 75.
No, I don't mind.